Output testing is a really useful tool for diagnosing problems and also helping to set up your I/O configuration in the ECU. Now what this is it's broken into two different areas. Generally what you have is the base state and the pulse duration. Now before we get to those, I'm just going to explain about the reference timing mode. If you've watched the crank and cam setup, it will explain about this, but this is basically a way in order to be allowing the ECU to lock on to a set timing to get a timing light to verify that the ECU and the mechanical timing are in sync. You would enable this and then set the timing angle that you want in order to fix the timing. Now, under the input and output test mode, what you need to do is you actually first need to enable this. Now after you've enabled this, don't program the ECU because it won't come back online. You'd have to then change it back to disable and then unprogram it to change it. I'll just show that now. So you can program it, you'll see the ECU won't come online because it's unhappy in the bottom right hand corner. And in order to get this back and happy again, you need to program it within disabled. So it's green, so it's an item you can change live. So when we go to that and you enable it, before you do that, it's really important to make sure that all of the base states are turned to off. Now the base states basically mean that you are turning the output fully on at 100% duty. This is bad if it's basically you're turning on say an injector, because if there's any fuel pressure in the rail you could potentially be pouring fuel into your engine. So it's really important to make sure that those base states are actually set to off. Now the pulse duration is probably more something you would use for testing injectors because you're able to pulse the output every time you press a plus or minus. So what you would do is you'd be able to set the millisecond opening and then pulse each of the outputs. So first of all, the output base state, as I explained, this will turn the output on fully. So for example, if I wanted to check my fuel pump, so if I want to go to outputs here and fuel pump is on fuel 15, if I wanted to come in here, turn the test mode on, because I know that I can turn this on fully because it's a relay, I can go to fuel output base states, fuel 15, turn it on, and instantly I can hear in the background the fuel pump relay turned on. So it's really useful to testing these functions to make sure that the outputs are working, and also testing the solenoid when the engine is not running. Now the pulse settings. So the pulse duration is the amount of time when you pulse the output is the amount of time it's pulsed for. So for example, if I wanted to basically test the fuel output for the injectors, I want to pulse them at say 2 milliseconds of opening time. What I would then do is my fuel injectors are assigned on fuel outputs 1 through 6. You can see that here. So primary injectors 1 through 6. So if I come back into here and basically fuel pulse request, what you can then do, if you press the plus or minus key on the keyboard, you will see that that pulse request happens. And when I'm doing that, I'm actually pulsing that output for 2 milliseconds and can do so to check all the injectors are in the right place and are working correctly. You can also highlight all of them and do them all together if you wish. Same for ignition. An important thing with ignition, obviously make sure the spark plug is grounded and make sure an engineer is not holding it while you test it because it can give a nasty shock. Once you've got that all set up and you know that your outputs are working, you then just disable it. No need to program it afterwards because it's a green item, live and change, and you're back into full engine enable mode to be able to run the engine.